My relationship with my dad is something I'm grateful for. I'm Pace Fordham. I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a sophomore theology major here at Oakwood University. Um, I love people. I love talking and meeting new people, learning their point of view and their story, learning their culture and like what they like to do. I love music. I love singing. I love I love a lot of things. I love having fun. Love having adventures. Yeah. My dad. Some people know him by Pucky. Some people know him by Furman Fordham. Some people know him by Pastor Fordham. He was born in Kansas City, Missouri. He went to Pine Forge Academy, met my mom. They went to Oakwood, got married, had me, and then bada bing, bada boom, there's life. My dad, like looking back, he really made a lot of sacrifices for me. I remember him taking off work specifically to see basketball games that I wasn't even starting in or even scoring that much. And just little things like that meant a lot for him to see me make a layup. It's just like, that's all you had to do, and it just made me so happy. I'm actually very grateful for it because growing up, you always think that your life is like the template, like it's normal. But the older I've gotten, the more I've realized that my life is actually very different from the like typical person of my demographic. Like I have a actual really good father, and a lot of people aren't blessed to have that. My dad is the type of person who's on top of things. I've never been the most organized or the most, on top of things, but he always is very scheduled and organized. He knows more about my schedule than I do sometimes. He always would have like an organized lineup of what was going to happen throughout the day. And just watching him do that was very inspiring because it was something that I couldn't do. Like he would get up early before everybody else. He would make sure the whole family was up, make sure everybody knew where they had to be. If one of the cars, like if we only had one car, he would get everybody to where they need to go and then come back and get to work so he could be there on time. He just was good at providing, even if it meant leaving early, coming home late. He always made sure everything was set up for his family. He sacrificed a lot of personal time so that we could have a good life.
What's your earliest memory of your dad?
Huh. My earliest memory. I feel like I've made up some memories, so I'm not sure. Let me think. One thing I remember is being on a bike and falling off of it and him running down the hill and like telling me to do it again. I was like, I don't want to, it hurts because I'm bleeding and stuff. He's like, you have to learn how to ride a bike. And yeah, he just made me keep going down the hill. And I'm glad he didn't let me give up. Cause now that's something in me where even if I fall, I know that I can try again and keep going and keep going and keep going until I get it. Keep learning from my mistakes, keep growing.
How do you think your dad has impacted who you are today?
I think it's impacted me a lot.
Sorry for interrupting. How do you think your relationship with your dad has molded you into who you are today?
It gave me something to reach for. Because I know a lot of people, you always look up to your dad no matter what. You always somehow, you see something in your dad that you either want to be better than or you want to reach or you want to emulate or change. There's always something that you notice about your dad that you hold dear. And my dad was someone who I noticed had a lot of the same skills as me, but used them a lot better than I did. So he kind of influenced me and inspired me to make sure I hone in on my God-given gifts and use them to the best of their ability. He inspired in me a drive to put myself second and actually help others and the things that matter most to me, because that's what he always did. I have someone pushing me. I have not only pushing but pulling, because I'm going towards the superhero I see, and I have like he's still he doesn't want me to go behind him. He wants me to be better than him. So like he'll call and be like, yo, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you in charge of this? Why aren't you doing, like, when I feel like I'm discouraged and messing up, he'll give me stories of his life and how he's overcome things. And it really helps me build confidence to know that there's someone in my corner. There's someone who wants me to be better than them, and someone who's betting on the fact that I will be, someone who believes in me. That really helps me move, get up in the morning. My dad's a pastor, and he's good at what he does. And God actually told me to do theology, which is something, as a pastor's kid, you all know, like, a pastor's kid would never want to do theology. A pastor's kid, you never want to be in a pastor's family. You don't want to marry a pastor. You don't want to, like, you want nothing to do with that because you already experienced it. But God's been calling me to do theology since, like, junior year of high school, and I'm finally starting to listen. But now I'm getting the comparisons. Now when people who know him see me speaking or see me singing or see me doing something that he does, like, oh, you're just like little Pucky. Oh, you're going to be great. A lot of Theo majors get flack for, oh, you're going to be a pastor. But mine was jumping straight to, oh, you're going to be a conference president. You're going to be. So it was a lot of pressure because I know I'm not going to live the same life as him. I'm not. I'm a different person with different skills, with a different God-given path. But a lot of times outside forces will see him and put his image onto me. And I appreciate how he understands that, because he'll shield it from me. If he sees someone doing that, he'll be like, yeah, but he's living his own life. You know, you can talk to me. If someone's trying to use me to get to him, he'll block it off, be like, no, like, he's not getting paid for this. Get him out. Like they shielded me from a lot of the negative sides to being in a pastor family.
How do you think that's just shaped, your world?
Growing up with a father, I think it shaped my worldview differently because I have someone pulling me, or I have someone who wants me to succeed. So it's almost like it's hard to speak about comparison because I don't know what it's like on the other side. I don't know what it's like from other perspective. But what I would imagine is that I have a different view on the drive that I have, because it's not like I'm trying to catch up. I'm trying to make a bar that's already been set and get higher than it. Because I know a lot of people, talking to a lot of friends, they want to be better than their dad. They want to do better than what their dad did, or change family histories, change generational curses. For me, it's not only upholding, I want to do better too. And it's a different style. It's almost like if you're playing basketball, one might be I'm trying to win. Like, I'm down and I'm trying to win. But I feel like mine is I can't lose because I had a head start. And that would look terrible if I lose. Because it doesn't make sense. Everybody else is fighting so hard, but I understand that I have a God-given head start that a lot of people don't have. And it would make no sense for me to come in last place. Growing up, I took my dad for granted a lot. But being away and seeing more from an adult perspective, how much he sacrificed for me, how much he's done that he didn't have to do, it really, it's kind of a competitive thing. I really want to be better than him. And I owe it to him to be better than him. So I guarantee, I'll put that on everything. When I have kids, I'm going to be the best father ever, because I have no other option. I will not let go of the things my dad poured into me. I have to pass it on. You know that commercial where someone does a good deed and passes it on to someone else? That's kind of how I feel. Like I'm blessed. My dad put down so much to make sure I was happy, to make sure my brothers were happy, to make sure my mom was happy. And I want to be able to do that same thing. I want to be selfless enough to know, maybe, on a little example, maybe I'm hungry, but my son's hungry too, and I only have $5. He's eating. I can wait. It's the little stuff like that I want to get to, where I can sacrifice, where I can look to others first and myself second. So, yeah. So, saying how would I pass on what my father taught me without having children? Something a lot of people don't think about, your father doesn't have to be biological. I have a lot of people who I consider fathers. One I'm thinking of in general, specifically, is I went to a boarding school, Pine Forge Academy. So my head dean, Dean J, you can talk to any guy from Pine Forge, and if you ask their second dad, they will most likely say Dean J. Dean J was a great role model, someone to just take you aside to nurture you, someone who's not going to ridicule you, but understand your problems and where you are in life and understand how to pick you up out of that spot. Because everybody wants to grow. No one wants to be no one wants to be stagnant. Everybody wants to improve, but a lot of times we don't know how. So something I actually want to do, I actually want to go back to Pine Forge and give teenage boys an opportunity to have a strong black male figure that they can look up to. I love that school so much because a lot of people don't have teachers they don't have black male teachers who are genuinely looking for your best interests. I had teachers who would check on me, who would text me, who would make sure I was getting my work done, who would ask me about relationships, who would ask me about how I was feeling inside. And I want to make sure I can give back when they retire, when they go on to do whatever they need to do, when they're not in the picture anymore. I want to make sure I can be the Dean J. I can be the Mr. Searles. I can be the Mr. Fielder, the Dr. Marshall, the Roseboro. I can be that type of guy in people's life because a lot of the other kids at Pine Forest didn't have fathers. But Dean J was like their father because he helped them so much. He poured into them. He sacrificed his personal time to make sure we were okay. So that's something I want to make sure I do. I want to, as I said before, I just want to be able to be in a position where I know myself enough and I know my worth enough where I can put my own interests aside to build up people lower than me. My relationship, what I've always watching my dad really impacted how I saw how interactions with women should be. My dad he's been with my mother my whole life. They actually met. He was a senior, she was a freshman. He was like the popular guy on campus, and she was just a random freshman. They tell a story of how he said hi to her one time. She was like, "Oh my gosh, it's Pucky." Da, 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 da. And then at Oakwood, they ended up getting together because he took a year off and she went a year ahead, so they were closer in grades. So they had like classes and stuff together. And just seeing their story and how they interact, seeing how he puts her first, seeing how he protects her, seeing how he's there for her interests. My dad's a pastor, and sometimes my mom will get called to speak. My dad would drop all his engagements to make sure my mom's sermon is good. He'll drop we go to a private school. She teaches at a private school, at our church school, and church schools are usually low staffed. It's hard to get people to work there. So he'll come and substitute for her class to make sure she has time off, or come do PE for a day to make sure the teachers have time off by themselves. Just sacrificing time for the well-being of others. Just seeing little things like my dad does a thing where he'll get like 1,000, I'm gassing it, like a bunch of Valentine's Day cards and hide them around the house every Valentine's Day. So when my mom, she opens her car door and one falls out, or she goes to the mirror and one's in the mirror, or she goes to the microwave and there's a card in the microwave. Just little things like that, seeing how a loving relationship should look like. It helps me not fall into traps of women who look good on the outside, but don't have that internal thing. Because I see what my dad saw in my mom. I see how he sees a woman who can nurture children, who can help push him, who has her own ambitions, who has her own goals, who has her own relationship and strong connection with God. So now I know what I should look for because I see their relationship and I want to emulate it. Wow. How did my dad's dad impact him? That's actually, I just talked about earlier how we need to have these conversations. I need to talk to my grandpa about that. I need to talk to my dad about that because I really don't know their perspective. But I assume it's very similar to me. I have a big pastoral family. My grandpa was actually a pastor's kid. His dad was conference president, and then my dad's a pastor. So that whole system of nurturing understood what it's like to be under the pressure of being a pastor. A lot of times in Adventism, people put pastors on a pedestal, and they're just people doing the same thing as you who are just called to preach. That's it. You're just called to do a different job. Just like someone might be called to be a dentist, someone might be called to be a lawyer. They're people who God is saying, I want you to preach. And a lot of times we act like they're Ellen G. White or Jesus. So I think the fact that my grandpa understood that poured a lot into my dad, who's finally pouring into me, understanding what that route is like, understanding where the pitfalls are and how to actually improve, how to be better. Just like I want to be better than my dad, I'm sure my dad wanted to be better than his grandpa. Better than his dad, better than my grandpa. Because it's just that not only do you want to give back, you're a little competitive. I want to outdo my dad. It's going to be so hard, but I want to do everything within me, use everything, every ounce of strength I have to be a better husband, pastor, father, brother, everything. I want to be better than my dad. I have to. I owe it to him. I owe it to both of my parents. So I really think that same feeling of wanting to succeed, wanting to do better, goes every generation. So I'm sure my grandpa did the same thing for my dad and gave him that finish line, that ability to know, like, this is where I want to be, this is what I'm striving for, and I have blinders on, like a horse in, like, is a Kentucky Derby, where they're just going. All they can see is this. I see my dad and the man he is right here, and I just want to be better than him. I want to be where he's at because I see how many people he's impacted. Yeah. Fatherhood definitely plays an important role in families and in the child's development, especially for males, because yes, your mother is strong. Yes, your mother can do it. Like, I love my mom. She's one of the strongest women I know. But there are certain things that she doesn't understand, specifically my perspective as a black man. And I know my dad can come and be like, yes, I've dealt with cops. I've dealt with people who's put stereotypes onto me. I've dealt with this. My mom can only see it from her perspective and what she sees from other people. And I feel like my dad has a more inside opinion on situations that I'm going to have to deal with, that I am dealing with. And from a young age, he's known that I'm going to have to deal with them. So he's been telling me, like, preparing me for these moments. He's been nurturing me to make sure I'm ready so I can do better than him. His dream is for me to be better than him. So every aspect in life where he messed up, he'll sit me down and be like, this is why I messed up, and this is how I could have done better. Now, when you're in this situation, this is what you can do to make sure you don't make the same mistakes I did. And I really think that's important in families because, as I said before, it gives you a head start. It gives you don't have to make the same mistakes over and over again because someone's already telling you they're telling you the right way to go. So, yeah. I think in our community, we all have the underlining idea of, like, fatherhood's important, what we want to do about it individually, but we don't have conversations like this about it. And I feel like it's something very important to actually have dialogues because that's when you grow. If you're just individually growing, you're not going to go as far as if you have a team of people from different perspectives and from your perspective pushing you and telling you what they've gone through, telling you how it relates to yours. That iron sharpens iron. We need that more in our community. We need more vulnerable conversations where we're not being fake with each other. We're not hiding our emotions from each other. Because a lot of times we try to hold stuff back to portray an image, but that doesn't help anybody. What helps people is when you're vulnerable enough to say, I'm struggling with this and I want to do this. This is my dreams. These are my aspirations, but this is what's hurting me. And someone else down the road who you tell that to might have the keys to get you through what you're going through now. So I love these type of conversations because it's really helping to grow us as a generation, as black men specifically, because we need conversations like this. Dear Dad, I'm gonna keep this short, but I don't talk about it a lot, but I really appreciate you and everything you've done for me, everything you've done for Paxton Price, everything you've done for Mommy. And I just want to say game on, because I'm going to be better than you. You've done too much for me not to pass on what I've learned, not to pass on the amount of nurturing, that's not even a word. Nurturement? We gonna make it a word today. The nurturement that you gave to me. It doesn't make sense for me to just hold on to it and let it wilt. I promise, with everything in me, I'm going to be better than you. I'm going to be a better father. I'm going to be a better pastor. I'm going to be a better husband. I'm going to, and I'm going to need your help. Keep pushing me. Keep driving me. You're the finish line, and I'm gonna get there, and I'm gonna keep running. So let's get it.